Every new guy to the gym says the same thing. I'm not ready to go gym yet. I need to fix my diet first. Bro, listen, you don't need a diet. You need a dumbbell. The first 6 to 8 months, your body is hyper responsive. So all you need to do is just lift. You'll literally burn fat and build muscle at the same time. Every single time that I have like a noob, right? A noob, if you don't know what a noob is somebody who's a pure beginner to some sort of aim or some sort of practice. So every time I see a noob, someone who's never worked out before, someone who's never gone to the gym, they always tell me that they don't go to the gym because they're worried about their diet. And you're probably in that same boat too. If you're in this channel, you're most likely a beginner. You're probably worried about diet. And because you don't have your diet right, you don't have action. Because you're worried about your split and your routine and all these different things, you don't have action. And I see this very, very often. And I'm here to tell you that that shit does not matter. You need to lift. Whether you lift at home, whether you lift in the gym or whatever, you need to just become consistent with lifting and become obsessed with workouts and become obsessed with just contracting your muscles and pulling them and pushing and doing all the movements. That's what you need to do. And I'm here to explain exactly why. You don't know who I am. My name is Chike and I've been consistent in the gym for 11 years. Okay, I've been doing this for 11 years naturally. And I've done this pretty much somewhat mindlessly, but I've made a lot of progress. And the thing is, I still struggle a lot with working out. I still struggle with eating right properly and eating as much as I should, trying to bulk and trying to cut and do these things. And I've learned how to successfully do them while working a 9 to 5, while having a side hustle, while having 2 jobs in high school, while having a part-time job, being a full-time student in college, studying for exams and doing all this stuff. I made time for it. I've made time for it and I've triumphed over all these issues. And I've come a long way when it comes down to managing my life, when it comes down to fitness, in respect to the fact that I have a full-time job. I'm active duty military. I'm constantly working on YouTube, working on a course. I go on dates very often. I have a very busy life and it's about managing all these things. But it's all about teaching beginners the truth of fitness, because you probably go online and you see all this stuff about this is the proper routine. This you need to do hypertrophy. No, you need to do strength. No, you need to do this, that, this routine, that routine, this diet, that diet. Listen, that shit does not matter for you right now. I'm here to help you as a beginner understand fitness as a whole and know the truth about fitness, because the truth is you ain't finna get the body you want until you become a gym rat. That's it. I don't give a fuck what anybody wants to say in the comment section about anything or what about, oh, this is the truth about how to get big or your advice is wrong. I don't give a fuck. I'm here to help you as a beginner. Okay, so all that noise that you see in the fitness community with people saying this is more optimal, that you don't need that. All you need is this advice right here. And what I want to tell you is that as a noob, you need to just lift. So what's my first point? The first point is that as a noob, you're very hyper responsive to the gym. The first 6 to 8 month period of you starting to work out, if you've never worked out before, you aren't really used to resistance training as frequently, you're hyper responsive. And what's a bro sciencey way I can explain what hyper responded or hyper responsive means? Basically, it means when you get a new thing, you're in the honeymoon phase with it. Because it's something new, a new stimulus always has a more amplified effect on something that is used to said stimulus. So I'm somebody who's gone to the gym for 11 years. It's harder for me to build more muscle than it is for you as someone who has not been to the gym at all, or someone who's only been to the gym for only 3 months now. Right now, what you need to do is just lift. The amount of calories that you eat does play a role. The energy balance does play a role. Your diet does matter. But the highest ROI thing that you can do as a noob simply right now is just lift. Because when you're hyper responsive to something, the stimulus of muscle damage is going to trigger a lot more growth in the stage you are in right now. Therefore, like I said, not to repeat myself, but the highest ROI thing that you can do is to just simply lift, especially as a noob. Not only that, but in this stage, you're able to burn fat and build muscle simultaneously. And because you're hyper respondent, you're also able to burn fat and build muscle simultaneously. Because normally what happens, not to get too much into the whole bro science of it, but normally what happens when you're trying to build muscle, you also gain a little bit of fat because you have to go into bulking stage. If I want to make more muscle, I have to basically put more food in my body, and that causes me to gain a little bit of fat. Normally when you want to cut, you have to cut out your caloric intake and tip the energy balance. Therefore, that means I lose some fat on my body, but I also lose a little bit of muscle. And normally that's offset by eating more protein, but not to confuse you, just to simplify it, more food means more muscle, less food means less muscle, but also less fat. They all just kind of vary. When you're hyper respondent, it's like your body just, it doesn't matter if you're not eating as much or if your diet is super strict or anything. Your body's so focused on building muscle, and it's like, oh, I had this new stimulus of muscle damage right now. I need to build muscle right away. That's basically what your body's going through. I know that's not the exact science of it, but that's kind of like the gist of it. The second point is that if you're worried about diet, what you're doing is that you're creating more friction, because most of the guys that I talk to, you're probably in this boat. You're thinking about diet this, diet that. I understand you're trying to change your body composition. The main way to change your body composition is through diet. It is through diet. It is through energy balance and what you're eating. But right now, as you're a beginner, you're in the hyper-respondent stage, just focus on building muscle. I'm not saying don't diet. I'm not saying don't eat right. I'm not saying don't count your calories and don't have the proper energy balance. That's not all what I'm saying. I'm saying don't focus too much on it right now. And we can get to that in a minute. But when you're focused too much on diet, you create too much friction. It's all about your mental bandwidth. That's the most important thing. When I was younger, I didn't give a fuck about diet. I really didn't care that much about diet for most of my life. Genuinely, I was not watching my calories like that too much, but I built a very aesthetic body because when I was in my hyper-respondent stage, starting at the age of 14, I set the framework for my physique, and now it is what it is now. So when you're worried about diet too much, you're causing too much friction, you're causing too much mental strain. When you feel like you're focusing on multiple things at a time, that's when your gains actually fall off. That's when the gym starts to feel like shit. So what's the practical ways that you can do this? The practical way to implement this is just set a time that you go to the gym and then hit that time every single day, at least, especially for the first 6 to 8 months. And someone can watch this video and criticize it and be like, oh, but you'll get too skinny or you get too fat if you don't watch your calories. Listen, think about this, right? But let's just use common sense. If you were addicted to lifting, let's pretend that you were addicted to lifting, right? You're a liftaholic and you love to hit the gym. You love to hit weights. Let's pretend that you eat too much. The worst case scenario is that, yes, you would get a lot of fat on your body, but would you not also have a shit ton of muscle as well? You'd also have a lot of muscle because you're addicted to lifting weights and chasing PRs and overeating. You may even get to the point where you build so much muscle that people don't even notice that you have a lot of body fat, right? You may get to the point where it's like, it doesn't even matter that much to you because you already have the chest and the arms and the shoulders. You'll look kind of bulky, but you'll probably still have the frame. But worst case scenario is that if you eat too much and you overeat, but you love to lift, you'll have a lot of muscle so that all you really have to worry about is just going on either a slow cut or a hard cut with getting in a protein surplus, and then you'll be fine. But let's say that you're lean like me, because my issue is undereating. I obviously don't eat enough. I'm very lean. The worst case scenario is that you'll end up like me. If you're someone that loves to lift all the time, but then you don't eat as much, let's say you get past your hyper-respondent stage and then you don't eat as much, you undereat, you're still going to look very lean and pretty muscular as well. Because if you lift a lot, if you're under eating, sure, yeah, your recovery is going to suffer. But if you need to fix your recovery, you can do that because you're already addicted to working out. You get my point? Like, my goal for you right now on this stage, this is the main premise of this video. Anyone who's criticizing me, I don't give a fuck. This is the main premise. Get addicted to lifting. Get addicted to working out. You see these guys in the gym. You always notice there's that one girl, that one guy that looks really insane. They look almost kind of different from everybody else. And it doesn't look like they're too intentional with their diet. It's because they have an addiction to lifting. They have an addiction to working out. It's these guys that are super autistic about counting their calories and doing everything, is that you can tell that they put intention into the gym, but they don't look that aesthetic because they either look a bit too chunky or a bit too lean. The guy who just loves fitness, they have that aged muscle look, that guy that's been doing it for 10, 11, 12 years. People may say that I look like I'm super lean or like I'm not that big or whatever. People do fucking say that sometimes, like haters online and shit like that. I don't give a fuck about what they say. People will say that shit, but no one will tell me that I don't look like I haven't been doing this for 10 years. That's the look that you want, right? And that's what you get by just becoming a liftaholic. If you're just somebody who will lift all the time and go to the gym despite what your diet's like, you're in the better end than people who try to manage both and then are shitty at neither. So you need to just get addicted to lifting, especially if you're in the nude phase when you're hyper-respondent to it. Now, my last point is that diet does eventually matter. Even right now, I'm more focused on eating more and being more intentional about my calories than I am lifting. You do not need to be in the same phase as me. You are not at the stage that I am. Right now, you are a beginner. But eventually, diet does matter. So I'm going to go over what's a practical way that you can follow a diet so that you can recover and get the right recovery and everything, while at the same time not making it a big deal, succumbing to inaction. First thing you want to do is find your maintenance calories. And this is the practical step part here. So you can get a piece of pen or paper or whatever and follow along. But first thing you want to do is you want to find your maintenance calories. And the way that you can do that, this is just the way that I understand it. Get your body weight and then multiply it by either 13 or 14 if you're moderately active, 15 to 16 if you're pretty active, and then multiply it by 12 if you're not too active. That's just kind of like the rule of thumb. The sweet spot is 12 to 16. The more active you are, you want to be on the larger end. The least active you are, you want to be on the lesser end. Once you get that calculation, what you want to do is then calculate your macros and calculate everything. And the way that you want to calculate your macros is you want to do 1 gram per pound of body weight for protein, 0.2 grams per pound of body weight for fats, and then you can allocate the rest for carbs. And I know right now in this video, I'm probably going really fast. Listen, this isn't a how to calculate your macros and stuff guide right now. If you want the full guide, you can check out my course in the top link in the description, or you can just look it up online. It's very easy. But once you get those numbers and you get your macros and everything, what you want to do then is that you can simply just make a food profile and say, these are the proteins, fats, and carbs that I would rather eat in a day, stuff that I can afford in a week, and stuff that I probably will eat in a week. You kind of know what that is. Like me, I know for me, ground beef and ground turkey sausage and chicken is the main protein sources that I eat. Okay, because that's what's easier for me to buy. That's what's easier for me to prep. I know for my carb sources, black beans and rice and broccoli are pretty much the main carb sources that I like to eat. Maybe sometimes bread or pancakes in the morning, like I'm trying right now. Right now, I'm trying out pancakes, right? Get your food profile. Get your food profile. Find out what protein, fats, and carbs that you would rather eat. And then once you make a list of that, take the macros that you calculated with your maintenance calories, and then go ahead and input it into ChatGPT and say, hey, can you make a diet for me? That's all you got to do. If you want to cut or if you want to bulk, the way that you want to cut is if you want to go on a serious cut, you can multiply your maintenance calories by 0.2 to get 20% of your maintenance calories and then reduce it if you want to go on a serious cut. If you want to go on a slower cut, you subtract the amount of maintenance calories by 10%, right? If you want to go on a bulk, you want to add 10 to 15% more calories onto your maintenance in order to then eat in a bulk like that. And then you just make the macros the same. But I know that was a quick explanation, but my point is this. Once you calculate your calories, once you calculate your macros, ask fucking AI what you want your diet to be, what you can do, make a goddamn meal plan, figure out how many meals you want to eat in a day, and then stick to that loosely follow it. You don't have to just eyeball it. Just eyeball it, focus on eating your meals a day. But what you need to do is just frame in your mind, hey, diet is really the least of my worries right now. The most important thing that I need to do is simply just hit the gym. Just hit the gym, especially in the first 6 to 8 months of your gym journey. Because when you hit the gym, the more you hit the gym when you're hyper responding, the better off you are. I promise you. If you want to learn more, if this stuff is confusing and fitness seems confusing and you get a lot of analysis paralysis and you want just a good, decent beginner guide for someone who's just, you don't know anything about fitness, you're confused about all this stuff, check out my course in the top link in the description or go ahead and watch this video and continue learning. Goodbye.